Hare Krishna, this is Krishnendu Das from Successful Vaishnavas, and I'm back again today. I'd like to talk about prasadam, how we serve it. Now, you might be thinking, okay, he's going to be going on about how we should all sit down and get served in that way. Well, that's not the main focus of today's talk, although if we do want to start from the ideal, this is the system that Prabhupada described, that everyone should sit down and the servers go around and serve everybody a little bit, and they just keep going around and around until everyone's satisfied. And in this way, everybody gets plenty and everybody gets a fair share and there's no waste. And it's a very beautiful culture where everyone just sits down peacefully, the servers go around and give everyone prasadam. Now, I know that this is not the way it's done most of the time in most places. And, sometimes it's just not practical. So, let's talk about the other way, serving from a buffet table. So this conversation is started from my experience at the Loft, and just having some conversations recently about this topic. We were serving yesterday. It was a fairly simple menu. We had tacos with, beans and avocado and that kind of thing. We had these, I think they're called enchiladas or something. There was some kind of samosa sort of thing. And there was baked potatoes with cheese sauce on top. And then there was salsa, like a salad. So these were the items that we were serving. And after there was a bit of discussion how it should be served and all that, which delayed the start a little bit. But at the end of the day, once it was time to serve prasadam, we just started to make up the plates one by one as the people were coming along. So this brought up an interesting discussion, because that's the kind of traditional way that prasadam is served at the Loft in many places. And what happens is, when you're serving the plates one by one like that, is you have a long line of people waiting. And yesterday, because it was for several reasons, there was a lot of people, maybe up to close to 100 perhaps, because it was like a festival theme, Mexican theme. We had Deva Rita Swami, so there's always a bigger turnout when he's present, and it's also the beginning of university, so the brahmacharis were back from India, and there were a lot of, they'd invited a bunch of students and new people. Anyway, it's quite a decent crowd. And my point is that when you're serving on a buffet system, you end up with a long line and people have to wait. So you might say, well, what's the alternative? Well, I'll see if I can put some screenshots up on here. I'm getting used to this kind of Instagram type technology here. But in our WhatsApp group for the Loft, it was shared over the last year. There was a few times when there's a real focus on serving, efficiently and serving as many people as possible in a short time. Bhadrasayan Prabhu and Subal particularly were pushing this initiative, and I thought it was a cool idea. So hopefully I would have put some screenshots on here, but in any case, they would advertise on the WhatsApp group that we served this many people in this amount of time. And so the goal was efficiency. Why should we make the guests wait? Let's get them to get their meals to them as soon as possible, and that will enhance their experience. So, made sense to me, and it's always my thought as well. It's like, how can we arrange the serving so the guests don't have to wait? Like at the temple, I've been involved in serving for the last 40 years or something like that. Let's have a look, from like 1990, let's say 96. 30 years. I've been pretty much involved in serving prasadam, a little bit longer than that. And my feeling was always very much it had a few principles. One is, don't wait until the whole program's over before you start serving. Now, some people kind of have a moral objection to that. It's like, well, everyone should participate in the whole program, and we shouldn't reward people for, slipping out and just going for the meal. And I get that. My counter to that is that actually it's a win-win for everybody, that those who are, so desperate to eat first, let them come in, get served in advance so they don't have to wait. And the other thing is that the ones who do stay for the whole program, by the time they come down, there's already been a batch of people that have gone through, so they won't have to wait as long either. So it's kind of like a win-win. So that's the way I look at it, from that point of view. And the second principle that I have is that according to the number of people, you should have parallel processing. In other words, if you have a small number of people, just have one line. And if you've got a big number of people, get 2 lines. And if there's a huge number of people, have 3 or 4 lines so that you can serve more people in a shorter time. So these are my kind of principles for minimizing the wait time for guests and making the serving efficient. So that's the efficiency angle of serving more quickly and, so the guests don't wait. And the way that they were able to serve more guests faster at the loft, according to the screenshots that I hopefully shared, is that they would basically pre-serve a whole lot of plates so that when the guests came to get their meals, they don't have to kind of like walk along the buffet and sort of watch the assembly line, but rather there'll be a devotee who'll just give the plate to the people even as they're still standing in the line. They'll go, here you go, here's your plate, dong dong dong. And that way the line moves a lot quicker and everyone gets served faster. So that was how the devotees at the loft were able to serve so many people in a short space of time and minimize the wait time for the guests. However, there's another thought on this. As I was talking to one devotee last night after serving, I was saying, well, we got a bit off to a late start, so we were kind of like a little bit behind. If we got a head start, we could have served more quickly and, people wouldn't have to wait as much. And he said to me, you know what? People don't really mind waiting. They just wait there and they're just chatting to people. It's a chance for them to get to know each other. And so that is an angle, that is a perspective that actually when people wait in line to get prasadam, maybe that's not a negative thing. Maybe it's actually a feature because it gives people an opportunity to meet with others and catch up with their friends and, have a sort of a social interaction. Of course, I would also counter that by saying, well, once people have got their prasadam, they can sit down and they can keep chatting. They don't have to be waiting in a line to chat. So anyway, I just thought it was an interesting thing to consider about, there's a balance. Of course, if people really have to wait a long time, it will become, agitating, and it will be suboptimal, as my son would always say. But if people have to wait in the line for a little while, maybe it's not so bad, and we don't need to stress out about it. Because I also got feedback that last time I was serving, not this time, but the previous time, that a couple of the people that were in the line were feeling pressured by me. It's like, where's the bottleneck? Where's the bottleneck? Who's not serving fast enough? I wasn't saying that exactly. I was saying, where's the bottleneck? But I didn't intend it to mean that, someone's slowing us down. But that was the effect that it seemed to have. I got feedback that devotees were feeling pressured, and they're like, just relax, the prasadam's going out at a reasonable pace. It's like, just chill. And that also brings out another aspect of serving, where when people do come past the assembly line, if you want to call it that, it's a chance to interact with the servers, which is part of the original culture, where people sit down and the servers come and serve them. There's like an interaction between them. So giving people that opportunity to come past the buffet table, not buffet table, but the place where they're getting served, just gives them a chance to interact. Whereas if you just give them a plate, it's more efficient, but it's the interaction is not quite the same as when you slowly working along past a table where devotees are serving. So that's just another aspect there. So these are just my thoughts, reflecting on recent experience of serving prasadam, and I hope you found these thoughts interesting. These are the sort of things that I'm always thinking about, how we can do our service better, to understand what are the principles that make a difference, and what we're trying to achieve. So with serving prasadam, it's all about the guest experience. We want people to have a wonderful experience where they came along, they had a wonderful meal, they got to meet with their friends, and maybe they met some new people, and they had positive interactions with devotees and with other people. And they, at the same time, they didn't feel like, oh God, I had to wait in the line for a century just to get a meal. So this balancing act is important. But these are the sort of things that I'm always thinking about. This is specifically related to serving prasadam, but I think about this in many ways, the way we distribute books, the way we give our classes at the Sunday feast, the way that we encourage devotees to get together socially, the way that we encourage devotees to read the books and study the books, and how we train devotees to become preachers. These are all different stages that are important, and I'm always thinking about how we can improve in each of these areas. And that's what my Panchanga preaching program is basically all about. So today it was all about prasadam. Hope you found some food for thought, boom boom, in the discussion today. And I hope that it helps you just reflect on what's the guest experience where you're serving, and the experience of the servers where you are, so that everybody is having a positive experience and it's helping everybody to advance in the Krishna consciousness. So I'll sign out here. Once again, this is Krishnendu Das from Successful Vaishnavas. Make your life successful.